Welcome to Ag Tech Talk by AgriBusiness Global, where we explore the cutting-edge technologies and global crop protection industry. I'm your host, Lauren Milligan, content specialist for AgriBusiness Global. Today, we're talking with Jim Zimmer, who's an operating partner at Granite Creek Capital and co-founder of Moraine Farmland Products, which focuses on acquiring and managing Midwestern farmland. Jim, you wear a lot of hats in the ag world. He serves as an investor and board member at Elemental Enzymes and also has spent over a decade advising X Hybrid. Jim, today we're happy to have you, and we'll be diving into some discussions about soil productivity index today.
Well, Lauren, it's wonderful to be able to visit with you today, and I look forward to our conversation.
Awesome. So to dive into our first topic of the discussion today, like I said, we'll be discussing some soil productivity index and what exactly is that and how is it used in the industry?
Well, the soil productivity index is a rating system that was developed in the 70s. It wasn't introduced until around 1980. And what it does is it expresses a soil's capacity or its ability to support plant growth. It considers soil texture, soil organic matter, water holding capacity, drainage, pH, cation exchange, and just the soil's natural fertility. In the state of Illinois, the rating system goes from 0 to 147, with the lowest productive soils being 0 and the highest productive soils being a 147.
So why is the traditional soil productivity index an outdated measure of a farm's worth?
Well, when it was developed in the late 70s and introduced in the 1980s, it was a good tool to project farms' potential at that time. However, the productivity index, it's kind of gotten out of date. And the reason I say that is, we've had a tremendous amount of innovation in the last 45 to 50 years. Whenever the soil productivity index was introduced, our national yield was around 90 bushel, and the price of corn was around $2. So we were having less than $200 an acre of gross revenue on a farm. If you look at last year and the last few years, our national yield last year was 177 bushel. That's about a 95% increase in productivity. And if you look at the price of corn last year, it was close to $4.50. That's like 5 times the price and revenue that we were getting on an acre back in 1980. But where it gets really interesting is yields have not gone up consistently across all productivity indexes. We've actually seen yields come up faster in low PI soils than they have in high PI soils. So it's become outdated.
So what are some more accurate ways to measure a farm's worth these days? Is there anything that's replaced that method?
Well, if you just look at how other real estate is valued, like I like to use residential rental property as an example. You go into a neighborhood and you look at a rental property and you value it based on the revenue that it creates. Well, I kind of look at PI today as like the neighborhood you're in. But to really understand what a farm's potential is, you really need to look at the yield history on it to determine the real value.
Can you walk us through some of the advanced agronomic practices that can transform maybe Class B or C land into higher output assets, things like seed innovation, drainage, precision planting?
Yeah, well, those are some really good ones. If you look back to the last 45 years, seed technology has had a significant transition. Planter technology has had a tremendous transition. You've got seed singulation with planters, consistent emergence with planters. You have fungicides now that we didn't have 45 and 50 years ago. Drainage systems have improved. And so all of those contributors lead to higher productivity. And again, the lower productive soils have been impacted more than the higher productivity. And I've got some examples. If you go and look at Champaign County, Illinois, which is one of the higher PI counties in the state of Illinois, the yields have gone from about 115 bushel in 1980 to about 220 bushel in 2024. That's about a 75% increase. If you look at Edgar County, Illinois, which has got lower PI soils, the yields have gone from around 110 bushel in 1980 to over 220 in the last few years, which is, closer to a 90% increase. And so you're seeing those lower PI soils go up faster in yields because of some of these new innovations. And that, again, makes the PI rating out of date.
Do you have any examples of where management and technology have enabled like some lower class land to achieve higher classes like Class A economic performance?
Absolutely. If you look at this year alone, some of my highest yielding farms were in southern Edgar County with the PI of 110 to 115. And we had over 285 bushel corn on that particular farms, where if you go to our Champaign County farms, which have a much higher PI, our corn ranged anywhere from 240 to 270. And, a lot of that was due to rainfall. But the point is, the PI rating would have never projected that 110 to 115 PI farm could produce those kind of bushels.
So how should landowners and investors and lenders adjust their evaluation of land these days?
Well, I think we need to look at revenue. You can have a 120 PI farm, 220 PI farms, and they have very different outputs based on the management practices you put in place, whether you put in drainage, whether you've done the management practice necessary. And so the true way to value a farm going forward is really looking at the last 5 years. What's the actual production history on that farm? And then look at the price of corn, determine the value of the farm based on the revenue it's attributing to. That's the fairest way to do it. PI is like, are you in the neighborhood? But PI will not tell you the value of a farm today like it did 25 or 30 years ago.
In the future, how do you see technology and modern management practices kind of reshaping the way the industry defines and measures farm value?
Yeah, I think, as a society today, we've got significantly more information at our fingertips than we've ever had before. We now have, AI tools like ChatGPT. We'll likely, in the very near future, be able to load our yield history into a system like that with a projected price per bushel, and it'll provide us an almost instant valuation for a farm or a range of values for a farm.
And as we're wrapping up our discussion here, is there anything else you'd like to add to our chat?
Thank you for asking, Lauren. I really appreciate the opportunity to visit with you. I would encourage everyone that listens to this podcast that wants to be an investor or is an investor into land to look at proven yield history to determine the farm's value. I can show you many farms with similar PIs but very different yield histories. Those farms should not be valued the same because they're not generating the same revenue or the same rate of return for an investor. I can show you farms with lower PIs that are consistently outproducing higher PI farms. Those farms should be valued based on those higher results. And so don't let someone sell a farm based on 1970s system or technology. Ask for the proven results. Every farm you buy, you should consider purchasing the value based on the results it's having.
Awesome. Thanks, Jim. I appreciate your time.
You're very welcome.
Thanks for listening to Ag Tech Talk by AgriBusiness Global. Stay connected with the latest in ag tech and crop protection by following us on LinkedIn and visiting agrobusinessglobal.com for more insights and updates. Until next time.